Good afternoon,
Everybody, how we doing? I was thinking recently about regret, because I think up until quite recently I have definitely been in the school of thought of no regrets. What's happened's happened, you can't change anything, and I think that pretty much should make up kind of 90% or 75%, let's say, of your thought process when it comes to regretting things. However, having spoken to a couple of people on this subject recently, I've kind of come up with a couple of extra conclusions, and I'll tell you how this all sort of came about, because I have had a shed load of regrets in my life. Some business and professional, but quite a lot of those have actually been personal, and I'll tell you why. So for those of you that have been following me for a while will know that my kind of story, or my journey into trying to be more successful and make something of myself, and looking into ways of bettering myself, which ultimately led me into reading lots of sort of self-help books or brainwashy books, as my wife calls them, and ultimately getting to Rich Dad Poor Dad, which for me was the game changer, thinking about doing things in my life differently and not just being an employee anymore, and what that would actually mean. And right at the very beginning of that came when I had a very, very, very bad breakup with my ex-fiance, who I was found to be cheating on me. She cheated on me with a family member that I knew very well. They're very happily married now with a child. I'm very happy for them. But when something massive like that, I mean, we're talking huge. This was practically a divorce, very, very messy, family split in two, lots of heartache and heartbreak, and a lot of emotion flying around in that sort of way. So whenever something like that happens, losing my home, losing my dog, losing my car, there was a lot of loss going on there, and a lot of depression therefore it sort of ensues. We're going back to sort of 2014 now, so I'm feeling better now, don't worry. You do tend to have a lot of regret. You tend to, I think the natural human inclination at that point is to start self-evaluating. I think this then goes on to have two things, or goes on to sort of two outcomes, which is one, you blame yourself, and the other is that you blame others. I usually think there's probably a nice middle ground between the two, to be quite honest with you. But I, initially I had a lot of venom for others. Obviously, I wasn't the one doing the cheating. I was the person that suffered from that and suffered the loss. I mean, look, long term, as a result of quite a lot of looking at myself and how I was and how I reacted to certain things, and the kind of person that I was, it's made me realise that actually that breakup was possibly the best thing that could ever happen to me. And if you believe in God or sort of a higher purpose, then perhaps that was my time to maybe think, somebody's trying to show me something here. But I went through a long period of self-evaluation. I did blame myself, as I think is natural. I then started blaming the others, the family member of which, my then wife-to-be cheated on me with, and there was a lot of hatred going around. But what I also did, which I think was really, really helpful and really healthy, was that I really evaluated and in the years I've gone after that, I really evaluated my role in the relationship that I had, and this led on naturally to me starting to really think about my life in general. And then of course it turns to, what am I doing here? I went through a sort of a year or so period of time where I was really drifting. I had I was in between jobs, going from job to job. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in my life. I ended up deciding to spend most of the money that I got from selling my flat at the time to go traveling around the world, to really have some me time and find myself. But joking aside, that's genuinely what I did, and it was hugely beneficial to me, and a massively important part of my life. And as a result of that, I tried to have that output of no regrets. You know, I can't change what happened in the past, don't regret it. And actually I've kind of thought, do you know what? Regrets are okay. Regrets show that you've done something wrong, that you have done something that you wish you'd done differently, you wish you'd done better. And actually, instead of like how most people may well see it, that sort of turns to sort of anger with yourself, a bit of self-pity maybe. You can use that as, you know, as your evaluation tool to say, well, if I went back and I did that, you know, how would I do things differently? And you can then use that to do things differently in the future. You know, I know that this particular story is very much centered around the previous relationship, but that definitely had an impact on how I am now with Emily, my now Mrs. Norris. I mean, look, if none of that had happened, I never would have met her, and I would have been miserable as a result. But you know, I've now, you know, I'm really, really happy in the relationship that I'm in, and I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that I did go through a period of self-evaluation, and I thought, you know, I let my last fiance, girlfriend, whatever you want to call them, call her, I let her walk all over me, and I never thought I was good enough for her, and it certainly wasn't on an equal footing. I've learned now to go into the relationship that I am now in on a more level playing field, and it's worked as a result of that. And that is a brilliant lesson for business. You know, actually looking at what you've done in the past, look at all the jobs that you've done, what's worked, what hasn't worked, why hasn't it worked. You know, I do this as well. I've been sacked from jobs. Some I agree with, some I can understand. There's a famous one that I got sacked from where they actually reinstated me the following day because they couldn't actually think of a reason why they sacked me, which is really peculiar. Maybe that's a story for another day. But what's, you know, you can sit there and you can, you know, you can blame everyone else, and you can think, well, you know, that shouldn't have happened to me in that job. You know, it was my boss's fault. It was, you know, if it was your own business that you started, the market wasn't good, this, that, and the other. 90% of the time, you know, you fail because you fail yourself, and the reason why people then go on and don't do better the next time is that they don't truly understand that and don't learn from that experience, and all it means is they then float through life. And you know, I've got a lot of people that I know that do that, and I've got an annoying knack of asking people what their plans are for the next year, 5 years, and 10 years, because it's what I do in my job when I'm meeting new investors, and I'm you know, I'm asking them what their plans are for property for the next few years. I'm asking them, you know, I'm being quite specific, 1, 5, and 10, because what they do or what their plans are and what they aspire to will actually change sometimes the way in which I go about working with them and the advice that I give them. So, you know, and I know a lot of people where I ask them that question, and like I said, it kind of becomes a bit of a strange question where I kind of do it without thinking about it. Is I do that to friends and family and stuff like that, and so many people can't give me anything close to a straight answer. You know, oh, I presume I'll be married. Oh, I presume this. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. You know, so many people think like that, and realistically, when you think like that, you will just drift a little bit through life, and you won't really make, I don't think you'll make proper progress, or at least if you do make progress, it won't necessarily be because you've made a huge impact or a very specified strategy that's resulted in that success. It's kind of almost come maybe as a result of just doing something for long enough, staying in a job long enough that you just kind of then get a promotion as a result, and it's not really because you've done anything special, it's just because you've been there a little while, when actually you could have made very specific changes based on looking at previous performance to, you know, make you know, give yourself a much better opportunity to either progress in that particular role, or, you know, start a new role or start your own business. So I think the point of this video is just to kind of talk, it's just kind of convey my thoughts on this kind of no regrets saying that goes around. I disagree with it. I don't think you should. I think having regret is something that should fuel your fire to improve yourself more in the future, and give yourself inspiration and ideas as to how to do things better. It basically goes against the whole survival of the fittest. Not having any regrets means not learning from mistakes, and not learning from mistakes means not progressing, not making better, not evolving. And it's just gonna wait while traffic lights go. It's it's human. I think one of the most famous quotes in the world is survival of the fittest. Well, if you don't have any regrets and you don't look and evaluate yourself from time to time, then it doesn't. Then you're not. It's not survival of the fittest. You're not evolving. You're not improving. You're not doing anything differently to what you were doing before. That brings up another famous saying, which is continually doing the same thing and expecting different results is insanity. And that's what this basically what I'm trying to get at is, if you don't have any regrets, you don't learn, you don't evolve, you don't change, then effectively you're expecting different results from doing the same thing time and time again, and then just blaming other people for those results, which is completely counterproductive. So anyway, as I said, that was kind of more just me getting some stuff off my chest from the last few days, and hopefully that's been helpful. And if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, let me know. I'm really keen. I love having these kind of debates, and I know a lot of people will disagree, or they might see things in a slightly different way. And what's not to say that the way that you see things won't change the way that I see things, and vice versa. So all up for a discussion. Comment below. I'll probably stick this up on YouTube at some point, as I will on other platforms. So wherever you're watching this on, if you're listening to it on a podcast, do please comment, get in touch. Best way to get hold of me always is via Instagram. I'm on that messenger element or direct messenger element of that app the most out of all platforms. So @TheSamNorris is my handle. Do get in touch, do comment and let me know what you think. And yeah, please check out all of my various content across all my platforms. I'd love to hear from you. Any ideas that you've got for videos or content, let me know as well. And look, whatever you're doing this week, it's Monday. It's going to be a good week, I'm sure. First full week of 2020. Whatever you're doing, be successful, work hard, and do your best. And I look forward to catching up with you on the next video. Cheers, guys.